You know, in Washington, when the clock strikes midnight, it's not always about a new day starting. Sometimes it's about everything coming to a full stop. We're talking about a U.S. government shutdown. And believe me, it's a high-stakes political game with consequences that ripple out way, way beyond the Capitol. So let's break down what that really means, how we got here, and what on earth it takes to turn the lights back on.
Let's just start with a number. 750,000. Now, this isn't just some abstract statistic. This is 750,000 federal workers, real people who were suddenly furloughed, basically sent home from their jobs without a paycheck, all because of a political fight.
And there it is. That's the moment it became real. The U.S. government officially shut its doors. And why? Simply because Congress couldn't agree on a temporary funding extension. It sounds simple, but the results, well, they're incredibly complex. So, what does a shutdown actually look like for the country?
Okay, first up, government at a standstill. Let's really dig into what this means.
So, simply put, a government shutdown happens when all the non-essential government offices have to close up shop because their funding has literally run out. Think of it this way. The really essential stuff, like air traffic control, that keeps running. But national parks, passport offices, they have to close their doors, and a huge chunk of the federal workforce gets sent home. All right, Section 2, the political impasse. How in the world did we get to this point? Well, it pretty much boils down to a major disagreement between the two parties.
And here are the two sides of that standoff. On one side, the Democrats blocked the funding plan. They said no deal unless it included critical healthcare subsidies and a solid guarantee of no cuts to Medicare or Medicaid. These are, pillars of their platform. On the other side, Republicans held their ground, saying nope and refusing to include those specific provisions. With neither side willing to budge an inch, a deadlock was pretty much inevitable.
And this was really the point of no return. The Senate was completely deadlocked, so the House Speaker just sent everyone home. And if the House isn't in session, there is physically no way to vote on a deal, even if one magically appeared. That one move basically sealed the government's fate. The shutdown was now a certainty.
So moving on to our third section, the global ripple effect. Because this isn't just a story about Washington, D.C. Oh no. The consequences are felt far, far beyond the Capitol.
Let's just trace this chain reaction, okay? It all starts with those furloughs we talked about. When the government statisticians get sent home, the flow of really critical economic data, we're talking reports on jobs, inflation, GDP, it just stops cold. And that creates a massive blind spot for huge institutions like the Federal Reserve and for investors all over the world who rely on that data to make billion-dollar decisions.
One analyst put it perfectly. Without that steady stream of information from the U.S. economy, global markets are, and I quote, partially flying blind. And if there's one thing you don't want in the world of finance, it's uncertainty.
But it's important to know that not everything just grinds to a halt. The really critical national security and diplomatic functions, they keep going. Things like consular and visa services, counterterrorism assistance, and key aid programs. Those will keep running to make sure the country's most essential international operations aren't compromised.
Okay, Section 4, a path to reopening. So how does this all end? History can actually give us a few clues.
I mean, if you want to understand how long this thing could go on, you really only have to look back to the winter of 2018. That last major shutdown dragged on for a record-breaking 5 weeks. 5! It took an incredible amount of political pressure to finally break that stalemate. So that 5-week duration is kind of looming over everything right now as a pretty daunting precedent.
At the end of the day, the path to reopening really comes down to one word: concessions. There's just no scenario where one side gets everything at once. It's not going to happen. To get those 750,000 people back to work and get the government running again, both sides are going to have to agree to give something up.
It's really easy to just say the answer is compromise, right? But when both sides are so dug in and they're both convinced that they're fighting for what's right, what does it truly take to break that impasse? That question, well, it doesn't just define this shutdown. It kind of defines the challenge at the very heart of our politics today.